Hello, everyone. Thank you for waiting along with us. It is Friday. I am Alyssa Lansdale. Welcome. Join us and elevate your approach to business with Canadian business leaders through the Canada Business Talk series in association with our exclusive banking partner, RBC, our shipping partner, UPS, our accounting software partner, Xero, and our exclusive email partner, Constant Contact, and silver partner, Zoho. As I said before, I am Alyssa Lansdale. I am your media host for Canadian SME Business Magazine. Thrilled to be here today. Now, a little bit of background about me quickly. I founded Rockstar Communications in 2020 as a way to unite my distinct passions and strengths in the leadership, communication, and development space, as well as the media space. Since 2011, I've had the privilege and pleasure of helping hundreds of leaders across the globe influence their teams and stakeholders with authenticity and impact. I would like to start by acknowledging that the land on which we gather and on which the region of Peel operates is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. For thousands of years, Indigenous peoples have inhabited and cared for this land and continue to do so today. In particular, we would like to acknowledge the territory of the Anishinaabe, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and Ojibwe peoples, the land that is home to the Métis, and most recently, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants. Now, our mission at Canadian SME is to provide essential resources, tools, facts, and data to anyone aspiring to start a business in Canada. We are dedicated to advancing small-scale entrepreneurs, contributing not only to the Canadian economy, but also our global reputation. Our magazine recognizes and celebrates the hard work of entrepreneurs and helps them gain the recognition that they deserve. Additionally, we have a lot of events like the SME Awards, the Small Business Show, and the Small Business Summit, all of these providing a unique platform for small business owners to share their success stories and inspire others. Now, last year marked a significant milestone for us with the launch of Indigenous SME Business Magazine. Now, this publication is a testament to our commitment to celebrating the unique histories and contributions of our Indigenous communities. Together with Canadian SME and Indigenous SME Business Magazine, we continue to empower and uplift our diverse small business community. So I would like to welcome you to Canada Business Talks, where we are committed to fostering growth and success in the business world. In collaboration with our esteemed partners, RBC, UPS, Xero, Zoho, and Constant Contact, and the like, we bring you insights from top Canadian business leaders to elevate your ventures. Now, today's session holds special significance as we dedicate it to Black entrepreneurship in honor of Black History Month. As we celebrate the rich contributions of Black Canadians to our business landscape, we recognize the importance of amplifying their voices and achievements. Our esteemed guest today, Fennella Bruce, epitomizes the spirit of innovation and resilience in the industry. She's a seasoned television producer and writer, and Fennella has transitioned this expertise into founding FKB Media Solutions and FKB Media Productions, Inc. Her journey exemplifies the potential for success and leadership within the Black community. Black History Month is a time to reflect on the past struggles and triumphs, but it's also a catalyst for action towards a more inclusive and equitable future. Through initiatives like today's discussion, we aim to inspire and empower entrepreneurs of all backgrounds to pursue their dreams and make a meaningful impact. So happy you could join us as we delve into a very insightful conversation with Fennella and explore the pathways to success in entrepreneurship. Together, let's embark on a journey of transformation and growth, shaping a more diverse and prosperous business landscape for all. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, our banking partner, RBC, our shipping partner, UPS, our accounting software partner, Xero, for supporting this initiative, our exclusive email sponsor, Constant Contact, and our silver partner, Zoho. Thank you. Now, if you are a small business owner in Canada, welcome. You can apply to be featured as the UPS Small Business of the Day. Every day, Canadian SME Small Business Magazine, with support from UPS, our exclusive shipping partner, features a different small business on our social media channels. As the UPS Small Business of the Day, you will receive free promotion on Canadian SME social media channels. So apply now, why don't you, by visiting canadiansme.ca. Now let's take a very quick break and see what's in store for you by our exclusive sponsors, UPS, Xero, and Constant Contact.
You dreamt big. You made the leap. You and your "we're not stopping at small" business. Doesn't matter you've never done it before. You unlock those problems. You adapt to change. You learn to evolve. You're pioneers in challenging times, finding your own frontiers. Wherever you e-commerce, UPS is with you, so nothing is going to hold you back.
Nope.
Constant Contact delivers the marketing tools your small business needs to keep up, excel, and grow. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall.
Now, I would like you to please help us welcome Louise Spence, RBC Manager of Business Markets, RBC Market Leader. She led a best-in-class business team to maximize RBC's position in the market and bring the best of RBC to business, their owners, and their employees via virtual or in person, based on client preference. Louise is an advocate and prides herself in supporting Black business owners and their employees. Louise manages and coaches RBC West Toronto business account managers to demonstrate client stewardship and care in every decision and activity. She believes that demonstrating care for our business clients and analytical skills are fundamental and are also parts of the building blocks of critical thinking. A multifaceted individual, as you can tell, with key focus on supporting, coaching, and advising relationship managers on best course of action to support their business. She's most excited when meeting Black business owners directly and understanding their journey, both past and future. Louise is very proud of the organization that employs her, RBC. Most outstanding is the initiative of the organization. This is very exciting, to launch their own Black Entrepreneurs Business Loan Program. Welcome, Louise Spence. Hello, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thank you, Alyssa. Appreciate the intro. Welcome, everyone. And my name's Louise Spence. I'm very pleased to be here on behalf of RBC to welcome you to Canadian Business Talks, hosted by Canadian SME Magazine. Starting a business is a challenging endeavor in any environment, but the challenges are even more pronounced in a tough and increasingly digitized and globalized economy, where business owners are contending with uncertainty, economic conditions, and competing to attract some of the most diverse talent and customers who have unique needs and expectations. As a result of today's entrepreneur faces multi-priorities and increasingly complex business issues every day, which can feel overwhelming to navigate alone. It's critically important for us to come together to hear your different perspectives and stories and support you with the resources, solutions, and advice you need to survive and thrive. RBC continues commitment to supporting the Canadian Business Talk series feel that much more important and purposeful today. We are thrilled to see Canadian SME Magazine take the lead in bringing thought leadership, entrepreneurs, and our co-sponsors, UPS, Xero, Zoho, and Constant Contact together to create this important forum. We hope these engaging conversations will deliver great insight to help entrepreneurs successfully navigate the complexity of the business landscape. For challenges also brings opportunities, the opportunity to learn, adapt, innovate, and grow. Canada's Black community is an integral part of our entrepreneur ecosystem, contributing to innovation, economic growth, and prosperity. Across Canada, February is a month dedicated to recognizing and celebrating the Black Canadian pioneers who have done so much to our nation as culturally diverse, compassionate, and vibrant as it is today. It is my pleasure to welcome Fennella Bruce, creator, media consultant, TV news producer, writer, and editor. Fenella's television career began as an editorial assistant for CTV National News. Shortly after, she was hired as a writer for City TV's Breakfast Television and quickly moved up the ranks to become a writer for City News, then senior writer, and finally a producer of several shows. At the time, she was the first Black woman news producer at City TV and one of the handful in the city. She worked in the field of television news for more than 25 years and has supervised staff, worked on major election shows and special development content, and influenced the decision making of news programming. She has worked for City TV, CP24, and Toronto One, both of which she helped build from the development stage. BET as a correspondent and producer, and CTV, where she produced the national news for Canada AM for 7 years. That's one of my favorite shows. Back then, too, when you were doing it. She started her media consulting company, FKB Media Solutions, in 2018 on a full-time basis after working on side hustle projects for 5 years. On January 4th this year, Fennella was recognized by the International Association of Business Communicators of Toronto as the 25th Communicator of the Year. Fennella was recognized for demonstrating leadership and communication excellence through her ongoing work boosting the voice of Black professionals in the media. Giving Black professionals opportunity to share their stories and experience with a national audience in an important step towards recognizing systemic biases and taking collective action to address barriers that impede the success of Black Canadians. IABC Toronto applauded her for her continuous impactful effort in such important work. I am looking forward to hearing Fenella's story of making the leap from leading a successful career in communication and broadcasting to putting herself out there by starting her own business. Once again, I'd like to thank SME Magazine, our co-sponsors, and all of you for joining us today for a program that uncovers and celebrates inspiring stories and the individuals like Fennella Bruce who makes them real. With that, I'd like to hand it back over to Lisa.
Thank you so much, Louise. I think we're both just as excited to hear from Fennella.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yes, we all want to know how she went from that incredibly successful career in media to what she is doing now. So welcome, Fennella. Thank you for joining us. There she is.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Congratulations on all the accolades, by the way.
Thank you. That's like quite an intro. And I'm like, are you talking about me? I
Right?
did not like that.
Yeah, you hear somebody introducing all of this, you think, this is really my bio. I mean, my goodness, you hardly seem old enough to have achieved all of these things, but we'll suspend disbelief on that. So I
Yes,
have so many questions that I know that everybody watching does as well. As someone who worked in the media for many years, I'm very interested in, first of all, whether you always had this vision for what you are doing right now. I mean, it seems like a very natural transition to go from that, the media to founding Media Solutions and Media Productions company. But was it that easy? Was it that smooth, Fennella?
no.
I didn't think so.
That's it. Interview over. No, it
Yeah.
wasn't that smooth. It was a process. I can tell you that at heart, I've always been an entrepreneur. So even when I've had, my day job, which was not really a day job because in media, your shifts are all over the place, but my bread and butter job, I was always doing things on the side anyways. And when I graduated I went to U of T and I did my undergrad there. And then I went to Ryerson and I did a graduate degree in journalism. And once I came out, you always come out with these big dreams of, oh, I'm going to be a reporter and I'm going to be, on the 6 o'clock news. And you go out and you send out all of these audition tapes and resumes, and you get back about all of those rejection letters, right? So I actually, my first thing, I did start as an EA at CTV National News, but it was for the summer. But in the meantime, I also started my own little PR company, and I would offer my services mainly to community organizations because they will take a risk on you because they don't have a lot of money, and so they'll hire you because they're looking for someone who can write a media release and get them a little publicity, and they're quite happy with that. So that was actually I would say my first real business, and I did a few organizations, and then I was writing for the community paper, Pride newspaper, and then I was also volunteering at City TV because I was trying to get my foot in the door. So I was wearing many hats and I was networking like crazy. And then I got an opportunity to apply for a writing position on breakfast television, and that position started at 4 a.m. and yep, It started at 4 a.m. and it was a part-time, so it ended at 9 a.m. I had another job, as I said, at the community paper. And so I would finish at 9 a.m. and then I would go to that job from 10 o'clock and finish there at about 2 o'clock and go home and sleep and do it all again. So that was my first, it was my foot in the door in a major television station when I was told in school, you'll have to always move away and come back. You'll never be able to start in the major market. So I was able to do that after about a year. And then it kind of went from there. I went from part-time to full-time in a matter of months, and my career started. So, but in between time, a lot of people I'm going to share some things a lot of people don't know. When I was there at City, I was also a music manager.
Oh, wow. That was not in your bio, Fennella.
No, it's not in my bio. I was managing artists. I was doing that on the side. I had a company was called Making Moves Management, and I had a little office behind City on Duncan Street, and I was managing artists, and I would do that on the side as well. So it's always been with me throughout, and we can talk a little bit later about why I decided to eventually start my company full time, but I was always doing things along the ways.
Okay, so you were preparing, and maybe not, did you know that this is going to eventually be a full-time thing for me, or you were just doing it because that's natural for you? Yeah.
It was natural for me, and I guess, there's a running joke if you're, ever used to watch a show in Living Color. There was Damon Wayans would do a Caribbean character, and they would say like, you only have like one job, you lazy goat. Like I have 5 jobs, right? So I don't know if it's my Caribbean upbringing, right? But I've always had multiple things going on, and and even when I was at, for example, Canada AM, I was working. That shift started actually at 3 a.m. And I would finish there at 11, and then I would go and teach at Centennial from about noon until about 3. Then I would get my kids, and at that time I had the kids, and do it all again. So it was,
I imagine passion has to factor into this, because there's no way you could keep up with that unless you were really passionate about all these things.
I really wanted to get into television. From when I was younger, there was something about that box and those people in there, and how did they get in there, and how do I get in there? And so I didn't know what I was going to do. I never thought I was going to be a producer, because I didn't even know there was a producer. I didn't know what that was, right? Everybody just knows what they see on TV. So obviously everybody goes in, I'm going to be a reporter. And, I did that, I did that in school for a bit, but what I knew that I knew I wanted to get into it, I wasn't 100% sure. So that's why I did my BA at U of T first. And when I was there, I went to the Scarborough campus, and when I was there, I wrote for the Underground. I became a radio DJ. I was the radio programmer for for the weekend. I also was writing for the Varsity from time to time. So I knew, and I had a gift of writing. So I knew I wanted to do it, and I was trying to figure out what it was. So when I finished, I said, you know what? Because I had gotten into Carleton for journalism, but I didn't know if I wanted to just do that 100%. And so by the time I finished at UT, I was like, yeah, I want to do it, but I want to do television. And that was the only piece that was missing. And that's why I applied to Ryerson. And when I was there, the first year, you do everything. You learn all media areas, and then you stream. And I did television in the second stream, and I knew that was it for me.
Beautiful. I mean, it's such an exciting career. So going from television to founding your own media production company, can you share with us, I mean, as you look back, are there specific pivotal moments that really stand out that helped inspire this transition?
Definitely. And it's not what you're going to think. In light of what happened yesterday at Bell Media, it was actually when I was laid off. And I had been laid off. The first time I had been laid off when I was working at City TV, and they switched over to Rogers, and they moved to the new building, and there was a split between Shum and Rogers. And so I was the producer of the noon show at that time and City Online, and they eliminated those shows and therefore eliminated my position. And so the first time that happened, it crushed me. Like we were at Young and Dundas, and I was walking down Young Street bawling.
Yep.
Because I just lost my job. I had 2 small children. I was like, how am I going to pay my mortgage? It was just like, and I felt like I was a good employee. I went in every day. Like my show was doing well. Like, why me? All these things that you go through.
Of course. Yeah.
I had, and in reflection, I know this now, like, because I had a really strong network, I really worked well with people. I knew not to burn bridges. Even when things happened within the industry that I wasn't happy about, I realized certain things were the industry, and I didn't blame the individual, right? So if I was passed over for something, I knew why it was, and that wasn't necessarily that person, right? And so I literally got laid off, and 2 weeks later, I had 2 job offers. And I hadn't really even sent out any resumes or anything. So I barely had time to curl up in the ball and mope about it. And I had 2 options. So one was from CBC, and one was from CTV for Canada AM. And I lived in Scarborough at the time, so I picked the one that was closer. And I went there. So I recovered from that, and I had a really great career with Canada AM for 7 years. And then I went on to become the control room producer for Your Morning. And then shortly a year after that, there was more cuts. Yeah. I was cut again. Mm-hmm. So this time it wasn't as much as a shock, because now I was getting the idea of what was happening in the industry and what was going on. So it wasn't that much. I still was caught off guard. I was very stunned, and I still had the why me. And I was packaged out. I went on vacation, and my former boss, Liz Travers, who is an amazing person from Canada AM, reached out to me, and she's like, I don't understand, why they lay off good people and then they rehire people that they have to retrain. It just makes no sense. So she had moved on, and she was the head of CTV News Channel. And so she offered me an opportunity to come back and work for CTV News Channel. And she had a mat leave position open as a producer. She's like, come back. We'll put everything on hold. If you still want to leave after a year, your package will kick back in, and you can take that time to figure out what you want to do, but at least you have a job in the meantime. Yeah. And I had also a financial advisor. I'm with Edward Jones, Mark Patel, who had been laid off at his job before he started Edward Jones. And he said to me, you know what? Part of the thing when they package you out is they offer you all of these services to help you, right? They have a company that helps you redo your resume, and they offer you coaching or whatever. And he's like, they're paying for it, and you're getting it for free. Take advantage of it. So that's what I did, right? So those 2 people, I listened to their advice. So I had a job coach. I started to really reflect and think about what I want to do. Do I want to continue working in an industry where I walk in on eggshells and not know if I'm going to have a job, right? In an instant, right? Do I want that? Had I done everything that I could do as a producer in this field, right? Where else, if I had a choice, would I want to work? Would I want to work at another station? Would it be any more secure? And I realized, and talked to my job coach, which his name is Chris, was that I was an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Even though I didn't want to think that I was. And I think the biggest thing that was holding me back was the idea of risk, right?
Yes.
That I was a single mother. So I was like, I had responsibilities in terms of my children and all of those things. And if I had no safety net. Whereas some people have, a partner that, okay, they can bring home the stable income. So all of those things were sort of holding me back. And so in that year, I decided to sort of test out doing, and it wasn't even that I intentionally did it. It was that people who had been coming to me before asking me for assistance, I now was open to helping them, right? To see if it was something that they need. So I didn't like advertise or anything, but I'm very active in the community. And so I really want help getting, some coverage for, my event. And if you can help me. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me see what happens. And so I'm going to fast forward because I know I'm talking long. By the end of the year, they kept asking me to stay. And I stayed another month, but I had to leave because I had so much work. I couldn't do both.
Wow.
So the business kind of found me, right? Yeah. And I had to sort of like get everything set up, and I was going. And so the nice thing was that I had to go, but I still had my package. So I still had a little buffer.
Win-win. I love that. Well, you say that this kind of, came to you. What I'm seeing is someone who it was open to all the possibilities. And I am also hearing this theme all the way through that sounds like connection, just connecting with people, connecting with the right people who resonate with you and can offer you this great advice. So wonderful. I love to hear that. And I think that that's very inspiring for those who unfortunately are on the receiving end of those layoff notices yesterday.
And I would advise them. I reached out to one of my former colleagues that, and she's an excellent journalist that was laid off. And I just told her, take advantage of everything. The first time around, I was like, I don't want anything from Rogers. I don't need anything.
Right, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Right. But take advantage of those things. Like my Chris was the person who was like, and I was not a social media person. He's like, you need to get on LinkedIn, right? And this is pre now, right? Where everybody's like, seeing the value of being on that platform. And I was like, I don't know. But he helped me and he showed me how to do it properly, right? And how to present yourself properly. And it's not a resume thing. It's, you're selling yourself as a brand. And that was the first time I kind of heard about you're selling yourself as a brand.
Yes, exactly. So take advantage of the resources. I was going to ask, what lessons you've learned that have been most valuable. That sounds like a really big one. Just take advantage of, don't cut off your nose to spite your face, as my grandma used to say, and don't let your ego take over. I think there's also lessons here, I would imagine, in really thriving outside your comfort zone, right?
Oh, wow. You got time on that one?
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, keep talking. I don't want to cut you off. I love it.
Let me tell you, I definitely, even till now, I'm outside. Even doing this, I'm outside my comfort zone. As a producer for 25 years, I'm in the control room. I'm in behind the scenes, and I've always been a behind the scenes kind of person. So even, like I said, embracing social media was very hard for me. I had to understand why I needed this for my business. And again, like I took advantage of, I live in Pickering, so there's the Durham Business Center that I looked up to, for resource help or whatever, and they had a class on Instagram and why you need it for your business. So I could wrap my head around it, because I was like, I'm a very private person, so I was like, I don't really want to post pictures of my family. Like, I'm not interested in that. And when it was explained to me how it could benefit my business and how to position it and what I should post and what I should be doing and things like colors and schemes and layouts and whatnot, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Right. And one of the things I was, I post these different things, and my daughter said to me, "Okay, that's nice, Mom, but you are your company, and so you are the personality of your company, and people want to hear and see you. So you need to get on the in front of the camera, right?"
Right.
And I was like, but she was right, right? As much as I didn't want to, want her to be, she was right. So I had to get out of that comfort zone. I had to take all of the advice that I give to people in media training and apply it to myself and learn to be comfortable in front of the camera. And
Sure.
so that was a process. Putting yourself out there, yes, definitely, right? And letting people and even just saying to people, yes, I can get you coverage, I can do this. And it's like, oh, what if I can't? But I have to believe that I can.
Yes.
The client's not
Yeah,
going to
you
believe that.
do. Exactly. As you say, take your own advice. That's the hardest thing.
Mhm.
So, as a prominent figure in Canadian media, how do you, I'm interested in at this pivotal point in time, how you see the landscape evolving, especially specifically for Black entrepreneurs within the industry. I mean, what opportunities do you see for them? What challenges do you foresee for them? And any advice you'd have to give to them?
Well, one of the things that I actually have been writing about up to recently in my blogs, so people can check it out on my website, FKB Media, and I have a blog and I write about a lot of different things. And one thing that is troublesome to me is that after everything happened with George Floyd, there was a lot of flurry of like trying to get, Black stories, right, in media, which was great. I'm not, disputing that. But I have a couple of pet peeves about that, in that, number one, like there's always this big flurry to do it in February, right? And a lot of these stories actually are great year round. They're not even specific to Black history. So
Right.
that didn't make sense to me. And that's one of the things I would kind of like point out to people and educate. And I think it's an education thing. The other thing is educating the media about that. And that these stories are great year round. They don't have to just be in February and March 1st, May 1st. We can still do these stories, right? It's not going
Yes,
to,
ma'am. Yeah.
there's no expiry on a good story, right? And then the other thing is that, and I see it now, and I see it because I'm pitching stories and I'm behind the scenes, that there was like basically a glut of like, looking for Black stories that first year. So like, so say like 2022, right? 21, 22. And now 23, 24, it's definitely slowed down. The interest definitely is not there anymore. And so what my advice would be to Black entrepreneurs specifically who are trying to get their message out or get their stories told is something that I tell all my clients, right? So number one, again, if this is a good story, the media will do the story. They're not going to they're looking for good stories. But you want to make sure that you have your package together. And it's so important that even the things that you think are unimportant, these are the things that the media does as soon as, say, you pitch a story to them. They Google you. So make sure your website is on point. Make sure that there's no spelling mistakes. It's updated. It's got the latest information. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it has to be clean. It has to be not cluttered, that I can understand what your business is about, what your story is about. I try to tell people, have a media page if you've gotten other coverage, because they like to see that, right? And if you have any examples of you speaking on camera, make sure that's on there as well. And you want to make sure that if you're pitching a story or you're presenting a story, that you are presenting it to the right person. Don't pitch like, to a sports channel when you don't have anything to do with sports, right? Or yeah. So you want to make sure you're pushing the right person. And then the other thing I would say is just the same with the website, your social media. Make sure that it's business, right? Make sure that your personal stuff isn't on your business Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform that you use. Your vacation shots, your bikini shots, all those things, get them out of there.
Right? No danger of that for me, but thank you.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
when you're looking, right, they're finding about you and your business, right? So if that's what your goal is and you're trying to get the attention and to continually, like, even like I said to you, I have a blog. If you're trying to offer yourself as an expert, like write those pieces, post those pieces, let people know your opinion on things, right? And they'll get attention. You'll get attention.
Wonderful. Great advice. And advice people can, start on today, right now. Some little shifts that can make a big difference. That's wonderful. You have been recognized. I mentioned your accolades off the top. You've been recognized as one of 2020's 100 most accomplished Black Canadian women. So I want to know how that felt to receive that recognition and how that may have affected your journey as an entrepreneur.
I was really caught off guard with that one.
Were you?
I
Yeah.
was very surprised. I got that email when I was at lunch one day, and I was floored. I was nominated. I didn't know I know the person nominated, but I didn't know she was nominating me. And it was very flattering, and it was really my first big award and recognition. And in life, right? And so I felt very honored to be part of it, and because it also came from my community. And it was from a group of women that I respected, Dr. Jean Augustine, Dr. Denise O'Neill, and Donna Jones Simmons. I hold them in high regard. So because they, just selected me as one of the women, it was very flattering. I was a little disappointed because it was in 2020, and so because of the pandemic, we missed out on the gala. So we had a virtual.
Oh, that's you were robbed.
I still dressed up.
Oh, good for you. That's what you do. Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. And then of course it was, the IABC Toronto Communicator of the Year in 2022. Oh wait, that was in 2023. I can't keep track. Yeah. So I know that there are women watching this who are like, how do I do that? So do you have any advice for other Black entrepreneurs striving for this kind of success and recognition?
Yeah, I think what you were getting confused with is in 2022, I received the Women's Empowerment Award for Businesswoman of the Year. And I wanted to point it out, not because I want to be like, I got that award, but that was a little different, as was the Communicator Award, because, with the Businesswoman of the Year, I don't even know who nominated me, right? I went to this event, and I didn't know the organization. I maybe knew at most 3 people in the room personally, maybe 2. One of them was my client, so maybe 2. So, I went there with no expectations. I was nominated. There's 2 other women who had way more experience than me. One of them was in the communications field, so I definitely thought she had a whole table, her whole team was there. And I was like, it was a really surreal experience, Alyssa, because I'm sitting there and I really didn't, I know people say this at awards shows all the time. I really did not expect to win, so I had nothing prepared. I was just going to have a nice meal at the gala, right?
I just want to have my meal. It's amazing.
When I said my name, it really was like that slow-mo Fennella Bruce. And I was like,
surreal. Wow.
And so I had to think fast, and I went up and I did my speech, which I have pinned on my Instagram if anyone wants to hear it. And it was interesting because, and it relates to the Communicator of the Year award. You never know who's watching you. You never know who's looking at what you're doing, especially in this age of social media, Google and websites and whatnot, that people can really see what you're about. So you have to be very careful about what you put out there, right? And what you're a part of and what you align yourself with. And so it was interesting to me to receive that award because it wasn't that I knew somebody or I was in this organization or I had some big company who bought a table. So I really felt like I was chosen because of what I was doing. It was just a clean win, as they say in sports, right? So there's no steroids involved. And so so I felt like that. And then with the Communicator Award, I was nominated by somebody that I know, but I haven't been in contact with her for years, Jackie the Beak. But again, she was watching what I was doing. She saw what stuff I was posting on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And she was following my work, and she was part of the IABC, and she nominated me actually in 2022, and Jessie Wente was the one who received it, and we both actually forgot about it. I actually forgot about it, and then in November I got this email saying that I was receiving it, and I thought I get a lot of things, your top 40 under 40 and this.
Yes, I know which ones you're talking about.
You know,
The
you get the
downside
same
of
one,
LinkedIn.
right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was spam, and I just didn't. And then I read further, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I remember this," and I actually got it. So when I reached out to Jackie and I said, "Thanks, I didn't know that this was still happening," and she said, "I didn't know it was still happening either." And she reached out to them, and they said that they were so impressed with my what she submitted for my nomination, and it was really a tight thing between myself and Jesse, and they resubmitted me for this year themselves because they felt strongly that I should receive the award. So that was also very flattering.
Beautiful. And it's worth repeating. You never know who's watching. And you're right, especially on LinkedIn. It's amazing what kind of connections you can make there. So I suppose the lesson there is to really be on brand, as it were, know your identity and know where you're going, right? Like know what your vision is for the work you do and keep communicating that vision. Wonderful.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Now I want to talk a bit about philanthropy, because somehow with all of this work you did, we've learned just how efficient you are. You've also managed to become involved with Dr. Roz's Healing Place and women in film and television as well. So first of all, how do you decide where to put that little bit of time that you have, and how do you balance the entrepreneurial pursuits with the philanthropic stuff?
Yeah, I had a friend of mine, Adayo Kafense, she's in communications. And when I first started doing my business, and she gave me some advice, and that worked for her. And she's like, I always sort of decide, and it can be a yearly thing or every few years, what I want to support, what I want to align myself with financially, time-wise, whatever it may be. And that is where I put my philanthropy or charitable energy, so that if I'm asked, because you get asked a lot,
You do.
I can say, this is what I'm doing for this period, maybe come back to me at this time. And that would sort of just ease your anxiety around that. And then, okay, this is what I'm doing. So I took that under consideration. And it was interesting because with Dr. Roz's Healing Place, again, this is when I was going through my whole reflection and working with Chris. One of the things that I had wanted to always do was a little bit more volunteering. And Dr. Roz's Healing Place, for people who don't know, is a center for women and children who are fleeing abusive situations. And they're located in Scarborough, and I can't say where, but they serve the GTA, and they serve globally, right? So I liked what her mission and what she's doing, and it was a holistic approach that was taken in terms of helping women. So it wasn't just like, oh, here's some clothes and here's a couple bucks and we'll put you in some government housing. There was a whole like helping them to feel better about themselves, giving them training, getting them back on their feet. They had a place to stay and get themselves together. So I had written it. I had a notebook, and I had written it down as one of the places that I wanted to do. And I reached out to they were having some awards thing or something, or some gala thing. And I had reached out to them about attending. And then for some reason it didn't happen. And then life happened. And then I kind of put it by the wayside and I forgot about it. A few years later, when I was going to launch my company, so it was much later, I was at an event and Dr. Roz was there. And my friend introduced me to her, and I told her, I've admired you for many years. Again, someone who's watching and what you do. And, I just started my own business, and this is what I'm doing, because I always tell people you have to tell people what you're doing so they're aware. And she was like, we have an opening on our board. Why don't you come and meet with me and talk a bit more? And also, I want to see how I can help you and support you with your new business. And so I went, and we were supposed to meet for an hour. We ended up talking for 3 hours, and I ended up, becoming part of the board, and eventually vice president of the board for about I was there for 4 or 5 years, just recently. And why I stepped away is I had a lot going on. And in that time, I went to, I was doing an event for Rogers. I had done I had curated a panel for Rogers with 3 Black women who run film festivals in Canada, Frances Ann Solomon, Tanya Lee Williams, and Fabienne Collis. And for their what's was it for Black History? I can't remember if it was for Black History Month or International Women's Day, but anyways, it was an event for them. And there was a woman there named Terry who was on the board of Women in Film and Television. And so I think they had done an intro about me and she heard about me. And so she reached out to me afterwards about joining the board of WIFT. And I was familiar with WIFT from when I was in journalism way back then, and I had gone to a couple of events, but I didn't know that if I fit with what they were doing, because I was more news and they were more film and television, right? Not that news isn't on television, but there's journalism organizations, you know what I mean? So I wasn't sure, but once I looked more into the organization and what they were doing, I liked what they were about. And so I've been on the foundation board for the last, I'm going on 3 years, I believe now, and I'm the vice chair of that board now. And, it's been a really good experience. I've actually taken a lot of programs through WIFT, and I've gotten a lot of assistance with different things that I'm doing. So I really support that organization if anyone's interested. And it's not, again, I know it sounds like it's people who are like, say on TV or whatnot that are part of it, but it's everybody is connected to the industry. So there's communications people, editors, camera, director, it's the gamut. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an organization I haven't taken advantage of, but yes, albeit you know where I'm going after this. Wonderful. Okay, I mean, obviously, your organization is exemplary in this area that I'm about to ask you about. What are some key strategies, would you say, for fostering diversity and inclusion within the business world, particularly for Black entrepreneurs? You've done this beautifully.
Well, I think one of the things, it's interesting because I've been getting this a lot lately. One of the things that I do, I think, is just not state the obvious. So a lot of people will say, oh, you are a Black publicist, or you represent, or I get asked, do you only represent, Black clients? And I say, no, there's nothing on my website that says that. Right? There's nothing in my anything that I distribute. And I think that sometimes one of the things that we do is that we need to, whatever, like after George Floyd, everybody put up these things on their website, we support inclusion, diversity, whatever. Sometimes it's just about doing. And I do that in the people that I hire. And obviously I would like to support young Black women because I feel like they need that support more than other groups. But I've had a white man who's been my intern. I've had, South Asian clients. I've had clients that are Asian. I have had clients that are white. So that's what inclusion is, that you're just doing it. And I think that also the clients that have approached me that are from outside of my community recognize good work, right? Yes. So they're seeing that my clients are getting coverage, and they're like, yeah, I want to find out about her because she's there. And it's not that I'm excluding anybody, I'm including everybody. And I think that, we're a little short-sighted when we try to narrow things down on both sides, whether, it's Black or white or Asian, whatever, when you label it, and then it feels like, okay, maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's not for me to be a part of or take part in, right? And so I think that if you want to sell your product or your expertise or whatever it is you're doing, to make sure that how you're presenting it is that it's open to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
That's the very definition of inclusion. So it makes all kinds of sense. Yeah.
But without hitting people on the head about it, you know what I'm saying? Just to just do it, right?
Just do it. Just walk the talk and stop putting up the banner. Basically.
Exactly. Thank you. I like that. Exactly.
Yeah. Great advice. I like that. All right, let's talk mentorship. I'm sure you have been asked to mentor many, but how do you approach mentorship and support networks in your entrepreneurial journey? And have you had mentors who have influenced your path?
I have. I've had many mentors. I talked about when I started at City TV, one of my first mentors was a reporter named Jojo Chinto.
Oh, I remember Jojo,
yeah. And Jojo came to my class at Ryerson, and my class was made up of people who had a lot of connections. I was the only Black student in the program. It was 60 of us. chosen from like 700 across the country. And so it was not an easy program to get into. And, we would have assignments like, find a journalist and tell them about their day. And I struggled with that because I didn't know anybody. My parents were not, well connected in that area. And they didn't have friends of friends that could connect them and all this sort of stuff. So when Jojo came and spoke at my school, it was like, oh my gosh. First of all, someone who looks like me. And second of all, someone that I could reach out to. And so what he came and spoke, he was a crime reporter at that time, and he was doing a series. And he said, he's doing the series, watch the series and let me know what you guys think about it. I was the only one who reached out and told them what I thought about it.
What? Oh, lost opportunities for all of those people. Yeah.
For everybody. And so I called him, I told him what I thought about it. And then he invited me to come down in the station, just spend a day to see what his day is like. And it was myself and another young person, Patrick Reynolds, who went on to become a videographer with City TV and City Line. And he came out at the same time. We went out with Joe and, saw what it was like. And he said, anytime you have time, you want to come down to the station, come down to the station. I'll get you in the newsroom. And he said, the most important thing is to be in the space so people see you, because when they don't see you, they don't remember you. Right. And so I took full advantage of that every time I could find an excuse. I was in the newsroom so that the news director got to know me, producers got to know me, and I would offer to like dope people's tapes, like that, transcribe their tapes. I'm talking journalism language.
I'm picking up what you're throwing down, but yes, it's good that you clarified. Yeah,
anything that I could do. You know what I mean? I was there. Go with them, shadow them, et cetera, et cetera. And so he was one of my first mentors, and he was the catalyst for my career, period. Right. And I always give him credit for that. When I decided to start my production company through WIFT, I got a mentor, Tony Maselli, and she has a production company. She has an all women's production company, and she does a lot of the top sort of home rental shows in the US. And so I, picked her brain for what I wanted to do and got ideas from her. Liz Travers, who I mentioned earlier from Canada AM, she is one of my mentors, one of the best bosses I've had. And I would go to her for advice and guidance. So I think it's important. And I always tell people as well, if you're in, particularly if you're in a corporation, you need to find your corporate cheerleader. You need to find that person who will advocate for you when you're not in the room. And it's very important if you want to advance yourself.
Yes. Are you talking like you're saying a cheerleader? Are you talking like a sponsor maybe? Or
a sponsor. Exactly.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So I'm interested in what's next for FKB. What are your aspirations? Like, how do you envision contributing to the growth and empowerment of entrepreneurs, of Black entrepreneurs in Canada's business landscape? It's an interesting time. So I'd like to know what your vision is. Yeah.
So my latest venture is something, again, everything comes as old as new again. So it's something that I had in my incubator 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, because it was when I was pregnant with my first child. And so she's going to be 25 this year. And I was in a program, I was on mat leave, and there was a program at the time that was offered to people. So mat leave is still like EI. So people who are EI or mat leave, if you wanted to start a business, and they would give you like $3,000. At that time, it was a lot of money to launch the business and give you some business training. So my idea, and this is, again, think about it, it was 25 years ago, was to launch a speakers bureau that was diverse, because there were none at that time, right? So I had this whole idea. I put together a business plan. I presented it to the guy, and he thought it was a great idea. And I think that there was a little bit of blockage in his mind in terms of, and again, you have to think back, right? So I'm, big belly,
right.
and I'm telling him, oh yeah, I know all of these famous people that I can get to join my speakers bureau. But I was working at City, so I did know these people, but I don't think he believed me that I knew these people. Okay. Right? And that I could get them to join my speakers bureau. So he was like, it's a good idea, but I don't, so it didn't happen, and I buried it. So fast forward to now, and one of my clients off and on has been Mitzi Hunter, former Ontario Liberal MPP and former Toronto mayoral candidate. And so when she's now transitioned out of politics, in last year in September, she came to me and she's like, "Oh, I'm getting all of these, requests for speaking and this sort of thing. I don't know how to price myself. I don't know how to negotiate these things. I've been in politics. I don't deal with this stuff. Someone else dealt with these things." So I would give her some advice. And then I usually take like November, December to sort of reflect and slow down my business. And I just take 1 or 2 clients and I just kind of reset for the new year. So I said to Mitzi, "You know what? I would like you to be my guinea pig."
Awesome.
I'm going to resurrect this idea. And I think that I have something called Find an Expert on my that I do, where I position professionals in the media. And so I said, I think I want to find a speaker and do a speakers bureau. And something I've always kind of wanted to do. So I started off with Mitzi and, starting to put the systems in place for that. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, LinkedIn or whatever, we posted something on LinkedIn that, she was speaking or she did something. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I got, "Oh, can I join your speakers bureau? Oh, I'm interested in speakers. Are you starting a speakers?" And I was like, I didn't even, this was.
It came to you again.
It came to me again. I have a speakers bureau now. And so we're getting up to, I think, a dozen speakers now that we have and growing, but I don't want it to grow too fast because I'm still, building my database and outreach and marketing the company itself. Right. Yes. But we have that. So that's what I'm focusing on for this year. I'm still doing my other, communications and PR and media training and everything else I do. And then the second thing that I am doing, we've mentioned it off and on, is my production company. And so I am working on a documentary right now about Maestro Fresh West. And so it's just out of development. And so we're now looking for the funding to start shooting. So that's where I am with that. So
that's exciting.
Yeah. So hopefully, I don't know, in the next couple of years, I'll be a full scale media.
And I'm thinking full circle moment when you think about back in the day, repping artists and everything. Did you know
all
back
that?
then?
It all comes together.
I love it. It's like this lovely puzzle. Okay. Now I've got a couple questions coming in from our audience. Okay. Somebody asks, you mentioned pivotal moments in your journey from television production to founding your own media companies. Could you elaborate on a specific challenge you faced during this transition and how you overcame it? And we already heard about your layoff, but what else comes to mind in terms of challenges?
That everybody thinks that being a business person is a very simple thing. Like you just, put up a shingle and you're a business person. Yeah. I had to learn accounting. I had to learn taxes. I had to learn marketing. And I had to wait until I was a little bit more sufficient that I could start outsourcing those things. So in the interim, I had to learn how to do those things and take, like I said, I would take classes to educate myself. And even though I outsource some of the things, I still want to know, like I have trust issues, I guess. So I still want to make sure that I know what's going on, like how to do certain things so that someone can't, tell me whatever, right? Some nonsense that's not true. So I think that definitely for me, the pivotal thing was recognizing that there was a lot more to being an entrepreneur and saying, hey, I'm going to send out some pitches and charge somebody and call it a day. There are a lot of things in place. And I would say the other thing was that I started off as a solopreneur thinking, okay. And then when things got really busy and I had a friend of mine who was like, maybe you should get some help. And that was when I hired my first, I was a student at the time. She was a student at the time. Well, she's a master's student at the time. I hired my first student, but I have, 2 employees now. I have a payroll. I'm paying, I have T4s and that was never what I was thinking when I left CTV, that I would be running, like, I feel like I, put on my big girl pants and I'm actually running a business where I am the boss who now has to do performance reviews and all these sort of things.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, so I would say the pivotal moment was realizing that, you know what, this thing is growing
Mhm.
and I have to learn all of these things really quickly, and to make sure that things run efficiently. And I'm still learning. I certainly haven't learned everything, but to understand what it really takes to have a successful business, because as you know, people always say, you know, the first year most businesses fail, right? So to understand what I had to, you know, put in place and and I think I just remember another pivotal thing for me as I'm reflecting back was learning to set boundaries. Because
Ah,
as an
yes.
entrepreneur, you will just continue on and on and on, and weekends and holidays and, you know, family time and all that sort of stuff. And so that because you're continually thinking, I've got to make this money, I have no safety net, I have to do this, right? And so I had to learn how to set those boundaries as well.
Absolutely. Learning how to, you highlighted some issues that a lot of creatives face in terms of like, oh, I got to work on this business, not just in this business.
Yeah.
And you know, when's a good time to, I guess you kind of get that sense that like it is time to hire somebody when it just becomes a little too overwhelming and when your boundaries are breached. So great points. Okay, one last question, I think, regarding the evolving landscape for Black entrepreneurs and Canadian media. You mentioned that there are both positive and negative changes. I think we both talked about that. Could you delve deeper into what some of these changes are and how they impact aspiring entrepreneurs, particularly those from marginalized communities? Great question. Big
Well,
question.
I would say, yeah, it is a good. I would say, I mean, it's an in-depth question, and I'll try to make it succinct. I definitely would say one of the challenges that you're going to face is that the media is shrinking, and so they don't have a lot of resources and people to cover stories. I had a great story, for example, that I would say, you know, is a total CBC story, right? And an author that has a book out. His name's Jeff Martin, a 2-for-1 book on Black Canadians
Mhm.
who've done exemplary things. And as much as the producer wanted to do a full like story on it, just didn't have the resources, right? So he was able to sound on the camera. We got a little clip on it, like 30-second clip on it, right? But it's not necessarily doing the story justice, but it's not the fault of the producer. It's the fault of that there just aren't people, the people, because people are getting laid off, the newsrooms are shrinking, and they're trying to do the same thing that they were doing years ago with very few people. So that is definitely going to have an impact. And one of the things more so for print, but even a little bit for television that I try to tell people to do is that if you can, for example, if you're a good writer and if you can submit or you can have somebody submit a story about you to your community paper or to a paper, that helps, right? Having really well written media releases help because then there's not a lot of editing that they have to do, and it's easy for them just to sometimes copy and paste and run
That's
it.
true.
Yeah. So if you can do things like that to help it to be a little bit easier when you're trying to get a story out, have the great, what they call B-roll video, right? So
Mhm.
you can supply it about your story, about your product, about your event that you can add, that you can give. It will make the process so much easier. That you almost like spoon feeding it so that there's no way they can say they can't do the story and they can't give you an excuse. Well, we don't have any video. Oh, I have video. Here you go.
All right. No, it's great. The producer in me is so happy. I'm just thinking like, how excited would that be? Just to be like, you're handing it to me. How could I say no? So that's
Right.
great advice. And everybody has a camera now. Everybody's putting
Everybody
stuff
has
up
a
on
camera.
social media. Yeah, no, it's
Exactly.
for sure. Great
And
advice.
when you're shooting, turn it this way. Don't do it this way.
Landscape, not portrait, people. Of course, then again, if you're doing a reel on Insta, I mean, you got to keep up with the rules, is basically make sure
Yeah.
you're shooting in the right
Yes.
direction
But if you want it for television,
for
do it.
TV.
Yeah.
That's
Do it
right.
that.
It is TV is not Instagram, and TV is listen, it's going through, as we said, a lot of changes right now, but we just gotta ride the wave, I suppose, is the
Yeah.
that.
And it's important. I do think that, you know, it's important for everybody's voice and everybody's story to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard and be reflected, and it makes a difference in what you're seeing, right? So if you're only seeing negative things about your community, or if you're only seeing, or you're seeing nothing, you're not seeing anything reflected, it does affect how you feel within society, how you look at other people, or how you're able to interact even with them at work, or the stereotypes or images that you have in your head about them. So it can only make it better, right? If you have positive, good stories out there about people.
That is a wonderful note to end on. I could talk to you all day, Fennella, but I've already taken you way past time. And I know how busy your businesses are. So I want to thank you on behalf of the Canada Business Talks team to express my heartfelt gratitude for all of these invaluable contributions you've just made to our session. Your insights, expertise, I love your candid responses. They've really enriched our understanding and left a big impact on all of us. Your journey from TV to entrepreneurship, coupled with your dedication to philanthropy, as we talked about, and advocacy, really makes you a beacon of inspiration for aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners alike. We very much appreciate the time and effort that you invested in sharing your experiences with us. So thank you again for being part of Canada Business Talks, and for your unwavering commitment to empowering others, for getting out of your comfort zone, as you said before. So very grateful, and looking forward to staying connected as we continue our collective journey of growth and transformation in this very dynamic world of business. Thank you, Fennella.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we bid adieu, we'd like to delve into what our esteemed sponsor Xero has in store for us. They've kept us waiting all this time. All right, following that, I will regale you all with some thrilling updates about our upcoming event in June. Now, to finish things off, don't miss out on the Canadian SME Small Business Show 2024, powered by Canadian SME, the ultimate platform for SMEs in Canada. Join us on June 24th for an enriching event focused on embracing digital transformation for small businesses. In today's rapidly evolving business landscape, embracing digital transformation is crucial for the success of small businesses. Our upcoming show is designed to equip you with the tools, strategies, and insights needed to thrive in the digital era. So you can expect all of the following. We're going to dive deep into digital trends for business growth and learn how to leverage them effectively. Gain inspiration from real success stories of small businesses that have embraced digital transformation. We're going to explore a wide range of digital tools and technologies tailored to meet the needs of small enterprises. And of course, you can connect with digital experts, tech vendors, and you can follow small business owners to expand your network, very important, and exchange ideas. So whether you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, startup founder, or digital transformation enthusiast, I think this event is for you. You can join us as we explore topics like digital marketing, e-commerce, technology tools, remote work, and more. Register now at smeexpo.ca to secure your spot and take advantage of this invaluable opportunity for growth. For exhibiting inquiries, please email info@canadiansme.ca. So mark your calendars, I believe that is the 24th, and get ready to unlock the potential of digital transformation for your small business. We can't wait to see you there. I would like to wrap by thanking once again, our exclusive banking partner, RBC, and Louise for coming to join us today. Our exclusive shipping partner, UPS. I'd like to thank our exclusive accounting software partner, Xero, our exclusive email partner, Constant Contact, and our silver partner, Zoho. So, as we conclude today's enlightening conversation with Fennella Bruce, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our audience for joining us during this very special session dedicated to Black History Month. We hope that Fenella's journey and insights and advice have served as a source of inspiration and empowerment for all of you. Fenella's remarkable story, from her groundbreaking work in TV production to her entrepreneurial ventures, exemplifies the spirit of innovation and resilience within the Black community. Her contributions to the business world serve as a testament to the richness and diversity of talent that exists within Canada's entrepreneurial landscape. So as we continue to celebrate Black History Month and beyond, let us reflect on the achievements and contributions of Black entrepreneurs, past and present, and commit ourselves to fostering a more inclusive and equitable business environment for all. Thank you once again for being part of Canada Business Talks. We appreciate your engagement, and we look forward to continuing our journey of growth and learning together. Until next time, stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep striving for greatness. And most of all, have a great weekend. Bye for now.